In tonight's Top Gear, Chrysler's idiosyncratic people mover, the PT Cruiser. Picking a winner, value-added used cars. And Audi's new Wunderkind, the fastest estate car in the world, ever.
This is the new Vauxhall Zafira. This is the new Vauxhall Zafira. The new Vauxhall Zafira has 7 seats.
Vauxhall, they know their place. Bearded geeks, not supermodels in their ads. Their cars don't set the world on fire. As a rule, they're middle of the road, unremarkable. And how do you prove a rule? With an exception. This is the brand new VX220, and it's the first sports car Vauxhall has ever produced. It's hard to believe it's a Vauxhall. That's because there's just a little bit that isn't. You see, it's been born from the Lotus Elise, and it's been built using similar technology. All 3,000 of the VX220s will be built at Lotus's Norfolk factory, with 1,000 of them staying in the UK. Now, Vauxhall and Lotus may seem an odd couple, but the VX220 isn't their first collaboration. In 1989, Lotus played with the Carlton and created one of the most powerful saloons ever, whilst the present Astra owes its neat handling to Lotus-tuned suspension. When it came to styling the VX220, Vauxhall stayed in-house, and to very good effect. It's wider and has a longer wheelbase than the Elise, which helps to make it look much more aggressive. Its angular headlights peek perfectly into these sharp wheel arches, under which sit a set of tyres which are smaller at the front than they are at the back to optimise handling. And as you make the most of that, this is the wild but disappearing view other drivers will see. The 220 uses Vauxhall's new 145 brake 2.2-litre engine, which should see you to 60 in under 6 seconds. Top speed is irrelevant, because this car is all about handling. Once you've clambered over this very wide sill to get in, you'll find that under this snug but thin seat lies a beautifully balanced rear-wheel drive chassis that dances through the bends at the lightest of touches. The feedback from this steering constantly enlightens you as to movements underfoot, so all you need worry about is how to make the best of that low-down grunt. It is a real grinner, and I have never had so much fun in a Vauxhall. Honestly, I am thoroughly enjoying myself. There's no power steering, central locking or air conditioning, but it does look after your safety with a rollover bar, anti-lock brakes and a driver's airbag. The instruments and switchgear have been kept to a weight-saving minimum, and there's been an explosion of exposed aluminium to give it that extra sparkle. Now, it's not the most practical of motors, but then show me a sports car that is. The roof stows neatly behind the seats, which gives just enough room for a bag in the boot. But for what price? Well, how does £22,995 grab you? Quite nicely, I imagine, because that's a big £3.5 cheaper than the top-notch Elise. So a bit more power for a lot less cash. However, in an image-conscious marketplace, some will have a fight with their conscience about sitting so close to a Vauxhall badge. Over the years, the company has, quite rightly, been criticised for producing dull, mediocre cars. Though let's give credit where credit's due, right here. If the 220 is a sign of things to come and the innovative trend continues, then we may find ourselves saying things like this much more often. Make no mistake, this is a great Vauxhall.
Chrysler have given us some pretty amazing cars recently. First, they updated the American muscle car to give us the Chrysler Viper. It's got awesome power, sounds like an earthquake, and it's the size of a house. Unfortunately, it handles like one too, costs £70,000 and drinks petrol. Then there's the Prowler, a standard production, street-legal updated hot rod. It's horribly cramped and has absolutely no room whatsoever for any shopping. So, what Chrysler needed to do was combine its flair for reinventing American icons with some down-to-earth practicality and serve it all up at a cost that more of us could afford. The result? Well, would you believe it? It's a hot rod hatchback. Seriously, there is no better way to describe this, the Chrysler PT Cruiser. That stands for personal transport, by the way. It's a motor show concept that's made it into full production. Mad crazy looks virtually unscathed. But unlike its stablemates, the PT Cruiser is accessibly priced, and Chrysler are marketing it as a mini MPV, which means it's competing with the likes of the Renault Scenic, the Vauxhall Zafira, and Top Gear's current car of the year, the Fiat Multipla. So, what on earth do we have here? Point slap bang in the middle of our suburban cul-de-sac. Well, the PT Cruiser is a hot rod. And as you can see, it's not just a pretty face. In fact, it's definitely not just a pretty face. It's incredibly aggressive with this prominent grille that runs right the way down to the bottom there. In fact, if it wasn't for those pesky 21st century safety regulations, it wouldn't have this big chunky plastic bumper. But hey, we need bumpers, don't we? Also concept car-ish is this line that runs the entire length of the car. Good to see that. And listen to this. Very Mercedes-Benz like. Very not like a Chrysler at all, in fact. And round here at the rump of the car, a nice badge. That's very 1930s. The whole thing is like a history lesson on Wales, this. And this rear end, well, you know, it really reminds me of something. Now, what could it be? I'll tell you another thing that's a bit strange about the PT Cruiser is getting into it. I mean, with a sports car you have to get down and scoop yourself in. With an off-roader you have to step up. With this thing, you just walk into it. Look. Hardly even had to bend my knees there. Inside the PT, well, things are a little bit more familiar. In fact, if you've ever sat in a London taxi cab, they'll seem very familiar indeed. You sit up high, the driving position is imperious, and the view ahead is almost as panoramic as you'd find in a large off-roader. And yet, for all that, I can't quite get comfortable. Build quality is better than Chryslers have been in the past, although, to be fair, that's not saying a huge amount. The plastics are still a bit flimsy, and the passenger airbag here, well, I don't think you'd need to wait for it to go off. If you just hit that head on, you'd probably be fine. Squidgy airbags aren't the Cruiser's only problem, because with the aerodynamic efficiency of a Kansas farmyard barn, the Chrysler isn't just slow, it's noisy too, despite having a 140 brake horsepower 2-litre engine. So let's see, it's a cold rod hatchback that resembles a hearse that feels like a black cab crossed with an off-roader with no space for the driver. Now let's remind ourselves of how Chrysler would like you to see the PT. Come on! This is the sort of car that can only daydream about what life must be like above 100 miles per hour. A dragster. More of a drag, actually. But then again, maybe I'm being a bit hard on it, especially as the Cruiser isn't that expensive. It starts at just under £15,000, and a limited edition model will set you back around 17. And for an American car, it rides and handles very competently. It feels stiff and composed rather than wallowy and unfocused, and provided you can reach the billiard ball-topped gear stick, well, the change itself is neat, precise, and very satisfying. Crucially, it makes a better job of the driving experience than pretty much anything else in the mini MPV class, close in fact to the highest European standards. Which is is the most important thing. It is supposed to be a mini MPV after all, which means that it's up against the likes of the Fiat Multipla with its clever 3-abreast seating and the even smarter Vauxhall Severa with those 2 seats that hide in the rear floor. So, tough competition. Does the PT Cruiser stack up well against the Fiat and the Vauxhall class champs? Let's find out. Let's pull that one down. Big handle there. Caboodle should tip forward. Way! Although they're heavy, the seats do come out quite easily. Very easy. But then again, how often do you need the space to carry a wardrobe? Makes picnics more comfortable, though. There's blue sky up there. It's very pleasant. I have to admit, I'm confused. You see, the PT Cruiser is 2 things I really don't like in a car. American and very retro. It should therefore be rubbish, and I should walk away now while telling you to do exactly the same. Except that it's really quite good. It's spacious, it feels well made, it's incredibly eye-catching, and it's surprisingly versatile. So, the British love affair with all things American looks set to continue. Damn them.
Every year, Britain's motorists travel some 50 billion miles on the motorways. And thanks to these tarmac expressways, we not only reach our destinations much faster, but sadly, also much poorer. Imagine me and my film crew are a family of 4, and I've just been into the motorway services to get them something to eat. I've got pie and chips for Andy the soundman. I've got all-day breakfast for Alan the cameraman. Yummy! And chicken and chips for my wife, David. All that, plus a couple of buns and 4 drinks, is 36 quid. Sadly, it means that all I can afford is this apple with a brown hole. But at 55p, do I eat it or do I insure it? The prices would probably be easier to stomach if the food itself was, but no joy there according to the Consumer Association, who recently sent a group of food inspectors to check out the motorway grub. Their findings made grim reading. There's some great comments in here. The peas looked like they were from another planet. Soft, wet and squashy carrots. The batter was welded to the fish like cement. The big 3 operators say their prices result from the cost of providing facilities 24 hours a day. And they point out they're now taking steps to improve quality, variety or both as a result of the report. Good. Meanwhile, a husband and wife team from Birmingham have come up with an alternative. From this HQ, the Brummie duo have travelled over 13,000 miles, researching a book about all the eating places hidden just off the motorways.
Well, it gives people an alternative to using anything like a motorway service area. It shows what food, fuel and accommodation is available at each of the motorway junctions.
We go a mile this way, a mile that way, a mile that way and a mile this way and check everything we see along that mile.
You're bloody heroes, you are. Well, you are.
That took us 3 years.
Took us 3 years.
In total to do it, yeah. To give you an idea, if you look at junction 19 on the M5, that's Gordano Services there. But yep. Just round the corner is a cracking pub called the Priory, which we went into. They had a superb meal there. And it's only round the corner. And from our experience, there's a lot of places within a mile of motorway junctions that it's really worth going to.
Surprisingly, one of the couple's recommendations is on the motorway itself. But to reach it, they travelled a long, long way. I can see for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Up here at the top of the M6 is one of Paul and Shirley's favourite gourmet havens. It's the only independently owned services in England where you can phone your order ahead and they'll prepare it using fresh local produce where possible.
And look at that view as well. If I had a Hawaiian shirt, I could be doing the holiday programme. Some ducks too. Might have a word with the chef about those in a minute.
So, If you can make every journey via Cumbria, then you're in for a treat. But if you can't, then as long as you're prepared to go just 1 mile off the motorway, you do now at least have a choice. Shirley and Paul, the nation salutes you.
Still to come, 150 miles per hour fully loaded, the Audi RS4 estate.
Power, power, incredible power.
Picking a winner, top used cars at knockdown prices. And the Top Gear verdict. Showroom debutantes get the Top Gear treatment as we give them marks out of 10 in 5 critical categories.
Aerobic instructors of Britain, it's time to rejoice. The new Toyota RAV4 is here. It looks a lot better than the previous model, where its predecessor was a little effeminate. This one's definitely funky. Thankfully, the new RAV4 also has a much improved, sportier interior with well-placed big bright dials, but I'm not quite so keen on the fishnet seat trim. Overall though, a butch 8 out of 10. The RAV comes with either a 1.8-litre 123 brake horsepower engine or this, the 2-litre with 147 brake. It is a lively little performer, hitting 60 in 10.5 seconds before running on to 115 miles an hour. But it does start to make a bit of a din higher up the rev range. A noisy then, but impressive 7 out of 10. The old RAV4 was very well liked because it didn't lurch, pitch or squirrel across the road like normal four-wheel drives. It is still good, but a little less understeer, please. 6 out of 10. This is the four-wheel drive NRG, which adds a CD player, big alloys, fog lamps and the wide pack, all for 17 grand. It does 32.1 miles to the gallon and sits in insurance group 10. So, on value for money, it earns a solid 6 out of 10. Closest to the RAV4 in terms of purpose is Honda's HR-V. It too is quite quick, good fun to drive, but it lacks the RAV's looks. The one to beat in this market is the European bestseller, Land Rover's Freelander. The RAV noses ahead in terms of performance and build, but the Freelander's superior off-road abilities and cast-iron image give it a good run for its money. It is a competitive market, but the new RAV4 holds its own with 7 out of 10. It is better than the old one, and it's loads of fun. So, Top Gear's verdict? Overall, we give the new RAV4 a tempting 7 out of 10.
Recent new car price cuts have led to plummeting second-hand values, but there's an extra reason why certain used buys have become an absolute steal. If you're up for a bargain, the next few minutes could save you thousands. Because this is Top Gear's guide to 3 areas where we can guarantee value for money. Take the current Ford Mondeo. Since it was launched 5 years ago, it's been one of the most enjoyable, practical family cars in its class. It was always a good second-hand buy, but now there's a brand new model on the way, part exchange cars are going to start piling up and the money is just going to head even further south. So what are we talking about when it comes to value? Well, what about this 1.8 LX? It's on a 98 S plate, there's 20,000 miles on the clock, comes with a heated front screen, electric windows and a sunroof, and it can be yours for a shaving under 7 grand. That's a saving of over 50% in just 18 months. And this affects top-end models too. The ST24 with its 2.5 V6 is an outstanding driver's car, and you could pick up this 2-year-old R-Plate with just 11,000 on the clock for 11 grand. That too is half price. 3 years ago, a lot was expected of the Mark IV Golf and not nearly enough was delivered. Today, they still sell at top dollar prices second-hand, but I think they're a complete waste of money. Shortly after the Golf was launched in Britain, another car arrived here which was better priced, better to drive and more accommodating. Trouble was, it had a Vauxhall badge. The Vauxhall Astra was a good buy then and it makes a much better used buy now. This is the 1.8 16-valve CDX model. So what do you get for your money? Well, there's twin airbags, air conditioning, traction control. These are remote controls for the stereo on the steering wheel, alloy wheels and some rather charming wood effect on the dashboard. So if you've got, say, 20,000 on the clock, you should pay no more than 9 grand. That's £5,000 less than for a similar Golf, but the knockout punch for the Astra is that it's actually quicker than the 2-litre GTI. There's similar savings to be had throughout the Astra range, and there's loads of them, so shop around. But don't be sucked in by dealers trying to peddle the inferior, overpriced, old-shape models. It's no secret that the luxury end of the market falls the hardest, but the real gems to be had are the great forgotten cruisers. The Alfa Romeo 166 is a case in point. Its anonymity kicked off with Alfa's low-key launch in this country, followed by a life spent in the shadows of the all-conquering 156. But that means the pickings have never been richer. Take this 2.5 V6. I mean, look at it. It is a work of art. You've got those swooping lines that race to meet that mean Alfa nose and the trademark alloys. It is a serious piece of exquisite Italian tailoring. Inside, you've got twin airbags, side airbags, GPS, climate control, hand-stitched Italian Momo leather seats, which are electrically adjustable. And at the end of the day, you've got a V6 to die for. And best of all, with just town mileage to its name, you won't pay over £15,000. Even the ultra-desirable 3-litre V6 Super Spec, a car which, bear in mind, can crack 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds and would have cost you over 25 grand last year, can be yours for just £16,500. Now that's on a T-plate with less than 20,000 miles on the clock. We're in the middle of an almighty manufacturer's price war for new cars, and that means second-hand values can only get lower. This is destined to be the used car dealer's Black Autumn. Go out and give them hell.
Estates aren't cool, so instead manufacturers make variants, Tourings, Aero Decks, or if you're Audi, Avants.
But at least this Avant is a quick estate. The S4 Quattro can get to 60 in just 5.7 seconds, making it the fastest flatback on the market today. It's just a shame it doesn't, well, look a bit more aggressive. Now that's more like it.
Not happy with simply having the speediest shooting brake, Audi now wants something even more spectacular. So they produced this, the £46,500 RS4. Compared to the S4, it's a little longer, a little wider, and a lot faster.
Because Audi handed their twin-turbo 2.7-litre engine to one of their recent acquisitions, a certain Cosworth Technology, who sent it back with interest, almost 50% interest, giving it 380 horsepower, which launches it to 60 in a shattering 4.7 seconds.
Quicker even than a Porsche 911.
Sounds impressive? Well, let me show you.
Not only is it a second faster to 60 than the S4, it gets back to 0 quicker as well. And with a little bit of magic, we can see the difference that makes. A difference partly due to having front discs as big as the wheels of a Ford Focus. So we have an estate car that will embarrass most supercars in a straight line, but how does it handle the corners?
with the anti-skid ESP switched off, normal track driving will only produce understeer if you push the car too fast into a corner, and understeer if you want too much power on the way out. And that simply means the front end of the car is running wide, you have to back off, grip is retained, and you can continue. It's very safe and sure-footed. It's what Audi wanted the car to do, but it just doesn't give me much satisfaction. I can't adjust the angle of the car with the throttle or by turning the steering wheel a bit sharper. And this car's got great steering feedback. The gear change may not be the best, but otherwise you just feel like you want to have more fun, and you can't. In fact, the only way I can enjoy myself and put a smile on my face is to use a few of the little tricks, like the handbrake. Don't tell Audi, though. Oh yes, and then at chicanes, you can use a bit of the old lift-off oversteer theory. Now that's more like it. No, in normal motoring, this Quattro, whilst putting a huge smile on my face with this constant acceleration, just doesn't have it in the corners. Here we go, understeer, understeer, understeer. But then the straights, power, power, incredible power. No, the RS4 isn't really suited to the twists and turns of Cheshire's Alton Park racetrack. It'll be happier puffing up its wheel arches, prowling some of the county's trendy high streets. In any case, all 400 destined for the UK have already been sold. So why have Audi gone to such lengths to produce it? Well, what better way of boosting A4 sales when there's a new model due sometime next year?
Next week, fun in the sun, if you can find any. Vicki raises the roof on some upmarket convertibles.
And let's face it, when you buy one of these, getting noticed is what it's all about.
A little later than we expected, I test Peugeot's new smoothie, the 607. But if you like your motors made in Britain,
Top Gear is having a sports car frenzy. We've brought together nearly all the manufacturers still making sports cars in Britain. And I'm going to be getting to grips with two of the very latest, Strathcarron's Road Legal Racer and Noble's new supercar.